If you've already started playing over-the-top WW1 and realized that running and gunning without a plan is the fastest way to become a statistic, then this video is for you. Today, I've put together 10 advanced tips that actually make a difference, whether it's for surviving longer, playing better, or simply stopping those silly mistakes that cost an entire match. So stick with me because the video is about to start. In Over the Top, WW1, the battlefield is fully destructible, the engineer helps shape and reinforce the front line, and the game itself revolves around trenches, fortifications, and massive battles between many players. In practice, digging a straight trench is almost an invitation for an enemy machine gun to clear the house, because the game guide highlights that a straight line provides a direct line of sight to sweep an entire unit in seconds. When you create curves, zigzags, and sharp angles, you break that line of sight, force the enemy advance to happen in stages, and turn every section of the trench into a small point of resistance. What I like most about this tip is that it doesn't just serve to defend better. It also shows how the engineer needs to think 2 steps ahead. The guide itself recommends building corners, protected positions, and obstacles in a way that even if the objective falls, the enemy cannot easily use your own trench against your team. So the next time you have a pickaxe in hand, resist the urge to dig straight. Think of it as building a defensive labyrinth where you control who can see whom. Your teammates might complain at first that the trench looks like a rat path, but when they are alive and well while the enemy team wastes ammo trying to hit something behind a curve, they'll understand. There is a cold truth that you only understand after dying about 20 times to a bayonet. In Over the Top, the melee approach isn't a primary weapon, it's a weapon of surprise. This game doesn't play around with realism. A well-placed rifle shot is meant to kill, and charging head-on with a bayonet in an open field is basically elegant suicide. What works is using melee combat as an extension of your ambush, not as the primary strategy. This is where the smart play comes in. Instead of becoming an American war movie character running with a bayonet forward, you plan when you are going to enter melee. Sandbags, trench corners, low walls, these are the points where the enemy feels safe, relaxes a bit, and then you appear on top of them, jumping, surprising. When you jump over a sandbag and hit the enemy with a bayonet, he has no time to react, no space to retreat, and the damage is almost guaranteed. You aren't brawling, you are executing. Melee in this game is as much psychology as it is technique. An enemy who sees someone running with a bayonet, sees them from the front, thinks they have time, thinks the rifle will handle it. But when you appear from a side, from a corner, from a place he didn't count on, he can't straighten up, he can't adjust his aim, and the second he loses is your free millisecond to land the blow. It's in this type of play that you turn the confrontation, and the most important thing is that you don't need to have the best rifle on the map, you just need to have the right moment. That's why my advice is, respect the range of the firearm, never trust that you will win an open shootout with a charged bayonet, use melee as a finishing tool, a surprise attack, a piece of cover combat. When you understand that the game is made to kill fast with shots, you stop trying to be the poster hero and start being the ghost that appears at the exact moment, with the blow that makes the enemy regret lowering his guard. And when you miss, the game quickly reminds you why. So it's better to miss rarely, and this kind of play is what you do when you are completely confident it will work. Look, I have a confession to make. When I started playing as an engineer, I used to plant spawn points everywhere, thinking that the more respawn options, the better. After all, having multiple places to return to seems like an advantage, right? Wrong. The game limits you to only 3 active spawn points per team, and this completely changes how you need to think about positioning. That spawn you placed way back near the starting base is literally stealing a slot that could be saving lives on the front line where the battle is happening right now. Here's the truth it took me a long time to accept. An obsolete spawn is worse than no spawn at all. When you are trying to capture a crucial point and your entire team is being decimated, you need those 3 slots working for you, not against you. Imagine the frustration of seeing your entire squad dying and respawning 500 meters away from the action, while a useless spawn from the start of the match still occupies a precious slot. It's like trying to win a race with the handbrake pulled. That's where the engineer's destruction tool comes in, and it's something very few people use correctly. You need to grab that hammer, switch to destroy mode, and literally demolish your own old spawns when they lose relevance. It seems counterintuitive to destroy something you built, but It's pure resource management. Every spawn you clear is an opportunity to place a new point exactly where your team needs it now, not where they needed it 10 minutes ago when the front line was different. What I learned after many frustrating matches is that a good engineer in this game is someone who understands dynamic flow. You aren't building for eternity, you are building for the present moment. Did the front line advance? Destroy the back spawn and place a new one in no man's land. Is your team being cornered? Remove that forward spawn that is now behind enemy lines and reposition for defense. Think of it as managing 3 simultaneous lives for your entire team. When you master this constant rotation of spawns, you stop being just a guy with a hammer and become the architect of victory, ensuring your comrades always return exactly where the battle is happening. You know that feeling of finally calling in an airstrike or an artillery barrage after hoarding resources for minutes, only to watch in horror as you kill half of your own team that was advancing? Because I've been there. And look, there is nothing more demoralizing in over-the-top WW1 than using your most powerful support and ending up being the reason your team lost the objective. The problem isn't the skill itself, it's that most people confirm the attack on the first red overlay that appears on the screen without thinking for even 2 seconds about the direction of impact. What changes everything is understanding that this overlay isn't a fixed point, it's a directional tool. When you open the menu with Alt and call in your barrage, you can rotate the angle of the attack using the mouse before confirming. This means you control exactly which direction the fire will travel, and when you use this correctly with a creeping barrage, that curtain of artillery advances alongside your infantry instead of against them. It's the difference between a support that clears the path and a support that creates a second enemy for your own team to face. The part that requires the most practice is reading the battlefield before confirming. You need to observe which direction your infantry is moving, identify where enemy resistance is most concentrated, and then align the overlay so the fire travels parallel to or ahead of your allies, never crossing their path. Think of the red overlay as the signature of your attack. Every degree you rotate that angle is the difference between devastating support and accidental fratricide that will get you flamed in a chat for the rest of the match. When you master this mechanic, support skills are completely transformed. A well-directed artillery barrage can open an entire corridor for advancement, forcing the enemy to retreat from positions that seemed impenetrable, while your infantry follows exactly in the wake of that fire without losing a single soldier. It's the kind of play that makes your team stop for a second and ask who the commander was that coordinated it. And the answer is simple. It was you who had the patience to rotate the mouse for 2 seconds before confirming the attack. Look, I know that when you see an experimental tank advancing toward you, the natural instinct is to run or try to shoot it with an old rifle that barely scratches the paint of the steel monster. But in Over the Top, you don't have to face these machines head on. The game gives you something few shooters have, the power to literally reshape the battlefield. And that completely changes how you deal with armor. Now, let's talk about that construction tool that everyone ignores. You can dig deep ditches and raise concrete obstacles. And here's the magic. The terrain is completely destructible and moldable. It's not that fake system where you just mark the ground. No. Here, you create real craters, trenches that stay, and obstacles that change the flow of battle. When you position a ditch in the right path, that enemy experimental tank isn't getting through. It gets stuck, immobilized, becoming a giant sardine can waiting to be opened. And this is where the fun really begins. With the tank stuck in the ditch, it becomes an easy target. Grenades, dynamite, even anti-tank rifles. Everything works when the target can't move. You no longer need that dance of flanking or praying to hit a moving weakness. The tank is there, trapped, vulnerable. It's almost unfair how effective this is. And the best part, you can do this with any class because every soldier carries a digging tool. But keep an eye out. If you dig poorly, if you make a straight trench without corners or zigzags, you might end up creating a perfect road for the enemy to use against you later. Think ahead. Position your ditches where they will actually stall the armored advance, not where they will hinder your own team. A smart engineer doesn't just defend, they transform the earth itself into a deadly trap. And in trench warfare, whoever controls the ground controls the game. Let's talk about something everyone gets wrong when they first pick up artillery weapons in this game. You see a mortar, you think, bomb that falls from above, it must be perfect for hitting machine gun nests at the back of the map, and then you waste all your ammo trying to hit something 3 screens away. Spoiler, you're wasting your time. Here's what happens. Mortars lose accuracy brutally when you stretch the distance. It's real physics, and the game doesn't forgive you for ignoring it. Now, I know it's tempting. The high curve of the mortar seems perfect for clearing protected trenches, but when your target is far, far away, you are basically rolling dice. The shells start to spread, land in random places, and sometimes you aim at a machine gun nest and hit. Nothing. Dirt. Air. Frustration. For sustained bombardment where you actually need consistent results against distant positions, you need to change your approach entirely. That's where heavy cannons come in. They don't have that dramatic curve, but they possess something better: ballistic stability at long range. When you need to silence a machine gun that is causing a nightmare for your team on the other side of the map, the cannon is your tool. It maintains a flatter trajectory, the precision doesn't collapse with distance, and you get that constant bombardment that actually makes a difference. It's dirty work, a slow method, but it works. So next time you're in that gunner position and see distant targets, stop for a second before grabbing the mortar. Ask yourself, do I need sustained precision or do I just want luck? If the answer is precision, go straight for the heavy cannon. Your team will thank you when those enemy positions finally go quiet, and you'll save a ton of ammo you would have wasted trying to make the mortar do something it simply wasn't designed to do. There is a chess move that few people consider when building defenses in this game, and it's where things get really interesting. Everyone focuses on making trenches that point over there, right? Wire, barriers, everything facing the enemy. But what if I told you the best defense is thinking about what happens when you lose the position? That's where the idea of bait fortifications comes in. You build elevated firing positions that don't look out of the trench, they look into it. Think with me. You make a high point, a platform, a protected position up there, and you position it in a way that if the enemy takes your trench, they are basically entering a mousetrap. They think they've conquered the ground, that the position is theirs now, but they don't realize you've prepared deadly firing angles coming from inside the perimeter itself. It's cruel, it's smart, and it actually works. The beauty of this is that you don't need extra soldiers to set this up. While you are digging the main trench, you already leave these points ready, protected, elevated, with a clean line of sight to the interior of your own line. When the enemy advances and finally takes the sector, they feel victorious for 2 seconds. Then they realize they are completely exposed from sides they didn't expect. And you, from your safe corner, start picking them off like fish in a barrel. This is pure mind games. You aren't just building to hold, you are building for when holding fails. It's accepting that yes, positions fall, but you are never going to let the enemy enjoy the conquest. He can take the trench, but he will never be comfortable in it. And in a war of attrition like this, making the opponent feel like there is no safe place, even in the positions he captured, is a huge psychological advantage. Build with betrayal in mind, and you will see how many enemy attacks simply give up when they realize what's waiting for them. You've lived this scene. Your team just took an objective with a lot of struggle, a lot of ammo spent, a lot of blood on the virtual floor. Everyone celebrates, takes a breath, and starts looking at the next point. And then 2 minutes later, the enemy takes it all back, out of nowhere, all at once. Because while your team was looking forward, the enemy reorganized their spawn and came back in full force before you even got a firm footing on what you just conquered. This moment is where battles are lost, and it's exactly what this tip solves. Here is the reality of over the top that few people process fast enough. When you capture an objective, the first few minutes are the moment of greatest vulnerability. The enemy is still close, still organized, and will attempt an immediate counterattack before you build anything. That's why the engineer needs to be the first to act, not the last. Before any other construction, before barriers or firing positions, you hide a spawn in a crater, behind a concrete wall, in any nearby cover. And when I say hide, I mean it. Don't leave the spawn in the middle of an open field where any enemy scout will destroy it in seconds. Put it somewhere that is hard to find, hard to access, but allows your team to respawn already within the counterattack radius. When the enemy comes, with everything trying to retake it, your team is respawning right there next to them, responding instantly, without that long trip from the main spawn that kills any chance of a quick reaction. This is the difference between holding an objective and just visiting it for 2 minutes. The hidden spawn is what converts temporary captures into real captures. It's the invisible work that no one will comment on, no one will thank you for at the time, but everyone will feel when the counterattack comes and your team is there, firm, answering, bullet for bullet. The engineer who does this right isn't the highlight hero, but he's the guy who decides if the capture will last or become a defeat statistic. There is something in this game that is very easy to underestimate. What happens when you don't kill but scare the enemy? In Over the Top, WW1, the suppression system isn't just a visual effect full of smoke and noise, it destroys the other player's ability to aim. So, even if you aren't hitting a body, you might be doing the most important job on the map, stopping the guy in front of you from being able to kill you. Think of it like this. There's a machine gunner acting smart in a trench hole or looking through a window, feeling invincible. He thinks he's safe, just waiting for someone to appear in his sights. But when you start pumping shots into that gap, into that window, his head starts to shake, his screen gets unstable, and he can no longer hold his aim. He can't get you in his line of sight, he can't set up the headshot, and in that second, your team advances. You don't get the kill, but you create the window of opportunity. This is where the tactical part comes in. You don't always need to be aiming at the body. Sometimes the best strategy is to aim at the support point, the edge of the trench, the gap in the wall. Keep pressing, keeping the bullets hitting there, making the enemy feel like there is no safe moment to breathe. While you are in this fire and forget mode, your teammates are moving around the sides, getting ready to flank, to appear on the side, in a place where the enemy can no longer react. There is one thing on these large maps that many people ignore until they take 3 artillery hits from the same place. Those observation balloons aren't just there for decoration. They are unmoving eyes in the sky, giving total vision of the map to whoever controls them. While you are crawling through the trench, thinking you are hidden, the enemy on the other side is seeing your entire team walking in a line, marking in their heads where everyone is going to stop. And when you least expect it, the artillery starts falling with almost impossible precision. To me, these balloons are a strategic threat, not something to leave for the other guy to handle. When you are on a large map, the first thing you should do is map out where they are. You don't even have to be the first to shoot, but knowing their position is essential. The problem is that as long as the balloon is there, your flanks and movement routes are completely exposed. The enemy can adjust bombs, predict advances, and even set up ambushes because he sees what you are planning before you even get there. Here comes the tactical part. The moment to shoot down the balloon is the moment to blind the enemy. When you hit, explode, or shoot down the observation balloon, the map goes dark for them. Suddenly, the enemy can no longer predict where you will emerge, where your team is organizing, and the precision of the bombs falls along with their vision. And in this information vacuum, you gain spaces that were previously suicide, flanking, advancing through side trails, or simply moving without becoming artillery lunch. It is literally safety bought with a well-aimed shot high up. That's why I always say that on large maps, killing that balloon is just as important as taking an objective point. It's not about the kill, it's about what it prevents from happening later. You don't win the balloon, but you take the enemy's control of the map away. And when you are planning an attack, a flank, or a line change, the best sound you can hear is the pop of an enemy balloon falling. It's the sound of opportunity opening up and the enemy going blind exactly at the moment when you most need them not to see you coming.